Welcome back, folks. Our historical moment explores the conservative leaders of the 1980s. Maury?
We were blessed. In the decade of the 80s, we had Ronald Reagan, we had Madam Thatcher in the United Kingdom, we had Brian Mulroney in Canada, and we had the Pope John Paul II. All these were charismatic leaders. We were lucky. You had, you might call it the Anglo group, which was the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada, and you had a Pope who was not only great religious leader, but he was also very pragmatic, and he knew, he was enlightened. He was also charismatic. So you had really four major charismatic leaders that held sway in the 1980s and gave all of us a feeling that maybe happy days are here again and they're only going to get better. I think we were not fooled, but I think we got carried away by the fact that this was going to happen for a longer time.
Well, and coming out of the 70s, I mean, it couldn't have been more of a train wreck.
Oh, it was a horrible train wreck. You had Iran collapsed, the Shah was cashiered, you had
the hostages, the gas situation, the economy.
You're right, the inflation was crazy, which finally settled down for a number of reasons. Do you know what, in 1982, in August 1982, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 700.
700?
700. It took off like anybody that invested all their money in just the Standard & Poor 500 would have multiplied it 50 times. And unfortunately, what happens, most people, you know, when the market goes down, they run away. You know, they buy, what they say, they buy high and sell low.
Right. So we had Reagan come on the scene, Thatcher, which really cemented a great relationship between the two of them.
They had the same value system, and so did Mulroney in Canada. They all got along, and the Pope was more of a people's Pope. Fortunately, I believe the current Pope, Francis, is of that ilk. I think it's done. It's great for the Catholic Church, but more important, it's great for the world to have a man of that caliber.
And you brought up an interesting point the other day on the phone with me. Reagan voted for Roosevelt 3 times.
3 times, yes.
And he was a pretty staunch Democrat back in the day.
Yes, he was.
And what was the motive for him changing party affiliations?
He became president of the Screen Actors Guild, and he saw how unions operated, how the malicious, dastardly way the unions can operate when they do things not for their membership but for themselves to gain power positions.
And even going back to Roosevelt, wasn't he the president that was against private sector unions? Or public sector unions?
Not only was against them, he made sure they would not exist. You know, of course, Reagan.
How would a Democrat of today's era survive that?
It was a different Democrat, you know.
Look at Kennedy. Kennedy would be shunned by the Democrat Party today.
You know, you go back, you cannot judge today's history by the standards of yesterday's history. One of the things, people that don't see the evolution of things, this is what happens. You know, I a lot of times ask, you know, how come Jewish people who are so smart would back Democrats come hell or high water? I said, they don't realize the Spanish Civil War is over. And what do I mean by that? In the 1930s, the anti-Semites, the people that were really reactionaries in every way were in the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party gave the appearance of being for the average person, the underdog, and even though Roosevelt double-crossed the Jews and let them be slaughtered in Europe without even raising one finger or saying one word.
Now, going back to our 3 leaders, or 4 leaders, Mulroney, what did he do that was, I mean, Thatcher obviously has a lot of history behind her, Reagan obviously. What's so special about Mulroney?
Mulroney, what was special about him, he was a businessman, and he created the sense that Canada's future was to use their natural resources and their banking system effectively, and he started that. Before that, Canada, with a small population but a huge landmass, wasn't able to do very much. Well, today they're a world power.
Well, that wraps up another edition of the World Report television program. If you'd like to email us or check out Maury's blog at the Desert Sun, the easiest way is just go to our website, theworldreport.org. For global economist Maury Beschloss, all the folks who keep us safe in a crazy world, I'm Scott Crowfoot, and God willing, we'll see each other again.